Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 48b. Okay, and it started a story on the last line of 48a. Amarave, Ki havi misaginan v'estrei Rav Nachman v'shuka. Rabbi said when we would walk after Rav Nachman in the market. Now turn to 48b on the top of the word Degil Da'e. Degil Da'e of the Skinners. V'yamri Rabbi Shuka d'Rabanan chazi hanach dekamen kande. V'lo amar lehu v'lo midi. And some say in the market of the sages, he would. It's the market of the Skinners, and some say in the market of the sages, whatever that means. He would see these lungs that were full of jugs, meaning they were covered in large cysts full of liquid, and he would not say anything to the butchers. Evidently, he held that the animals were kosher. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi Havo, Chalfi b'shuka de Tiveria, Chaze, in brackets Chazonu, Hanach dekaimet Tinari. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were passing through the markets of Tiberias. They saw these lungs that were full of rocks, meaning large and hard growths. They did not say anything to the butchers. Evidently, they held that the animals were kosher. Itmar machat shinim tzed breo. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Chanin Machshiri, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Mani bar Patish, Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim Tarfe. This is the first time I've heard of Rabbi Mani bar Patish. Okay, I think. It was stated that the Amoraim disagree with regard to a needle that was found in the lung of a slaughtered animal. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Zan, Rabbi Chanin, Adim the animal kosher, while Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish and Rabbi Mani bar Patish. And Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim di betreif lema b'hakem meflagi demar sor chisor mefnim shmi chisoin umar sor shmi chisoin lo kol yama chisor mefnim lo shmi chisoin Yehoshua b'hakem meflagi mal sova stim poino nakat vasai mal sova nikove naki vasai. The Gemara suggests, let us say, that they disagree about this. That one sage, meaning the one who deems that a treifa holds that a deficiency on the inside of the lung created by the needle is considered a deficiency, rendering the animal treifel. And one sage, meaning those who deem it kosher, hold that it is not considered a deficiency. They won't respond, no. Everyone holds that a deficiency on the inside is not considered a deficiency. And here, in the case of a needle, the sages disagree with regard to this. One sage, meaning the ones who deem it kosher, holds the needle took a respiratory route and came into the lung without perforating the membrane. And one sage, those who deem it treifel, hold that it perforated its way out of the digestive system and came to the lung by perforating its membrane. Ha'imach tadeshkach v'chikducha dire'eya aisuha likamed Rabbi Ami tzover l'dechshove Es Rabbi Yomi ve'itama Rabbi Zrika Horaya shenikva o shechosra mai chosra ilim v'chutz hainu nikvo erlav mivivnim shma mino chisoy mivivnim shmei chisoy. The Gemara relates that a certain needle was found in a piece of lung after it had been cut into pieces. People there brought it before Rabbi Ami, and he thought to deem it kosher. Rabbi Yirmiyah and some say Rabbi Zerika raised an objection to this possible ruling from the Mishnah. The lung that was perforated or that was missing a piece renders the animal a treifa. Now, what is the case of a lung that was missing a piece? If we say that it was missing a piece on the outside, this is the same as if it was perforated, since any missing piece of the lung wall constitutes the perforation. Rather, is it not referring to a missing piece on the inside? If so, learn from the Mishnah that a deficiency on the inside of an organ is considered a deficiency, and the needle certainly caused a deficiency inside the lung. Rabbi Ami did not decide the matter, so they then sent along before Rabbi Yitzchak Navcha. He too thought to deem it kosher. Rabbi Yehoshua raised an objection to this one in the Mishnah. The lung that was perforated or that was missing a piece renders the animal treifa. Now, what is the case of a lung that was missing a piece? If we say that it was missing a piece on the outside, this is the same as if it was perforated. Rather, is it not referring to missing a piece on the inside? If so, learn from the Mishnah that a deficiency on the inside of an organ is considered a deficiency. They then sent along back before Rabbi Ami, and he deemed the animal a treifa. They said to him, but don't the rabbis, meaning Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Chanina, deem it kosher? Rabbi Ami said to them, they deemed it kosher since they knew for which reason they deemed it kosher. They were confronted with the whole lung and could see that it had no perforation. But we, for which reason shall we deem it kosher? We see only part of the lung. Perhaps if the whole lung was before us, we would see that its membrane was perforated. Time Madelesa Hadisa Lomi Min Kava Kisher Nachmanai Simpona Derea Din Kiv Trefa Hahu Lechavero Itmal. The Gemara asks, one can infer that the reason he deemed it a treifa is that the entire lung was not before him, but if it had been before him, and the membrane had not been perforated, then he would have deemed the animal kosher. But doesn't Rav Nachman say this bronchus of the lung that was perforated renders the animal treifa? Accordingly, even if the needle entered the lung through a bronchus, the animal ought to be a treifa. The Gemara responds, that statement of Rav Nachman was stated in reference to a case where a needle pierced from one bronchus into another. Since the bronchi are hard, one bronchus cannot seal a perforation in another. By contrast, when the needle perforates the bronchi and constitutes and continues into the flesh of the lung, soft tissue left behind can seal the perforation. Rav Nachman. Hi, Hador de Chandrin, Kivlado de Haverama, Yenalea, Maravashi, Trefoska, Medamiladodi, and Norman Trefosu, Daimelizo, Share Hoit Homikan, Meso, Hoit Mikan, Mikhail. The Gemara asks, what does Rav Nachman say? If this spiral colon was perforated against another coil of the intestine, the other coil protects it by sealing the perforation. If so, why does the bronchus not seal a perforation in another bronchus? Ravashi said, are you comparing trephot to one another? One cannot say with regard to trephot, this is similar to that, as one cuts an animal from here in one place and it dies, while one cuts it from there in another place and it lives. Hahi machta di ishtakach besimpona rabandrea. Estuye lekam de rabbanan tero bai lo amaru ba lo isur v'lo heter. Heter lo amri ba keshma tayu. Isur nami lo amri ba kevan de simpona rabba ishtakach ema simpona nakat besai. The Gemara recounts the case of a certain needle that was found in the large, being the main bronchus of the lung. They brought it before the rabbis, who deem the animal treifa if the needle is found in the lungs, meaning Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Mani bar Patish, and Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim. They did not say that it was prohibited, nor that it was permitted. They did not say that it was permitted in accordance with their ruling, but they also did not say that it was prohibited since the needle was found in the large bronchus. And one can say, therefore, that it likely took the respiratory route and came into the lung rather than perforating through from the digestive system. Hahi machta d'ishtakach bechaticha chavda savar marbarid Rav Yosef lemitrefa Amar Rav Ashi ilu ishtakach bisra ki haigavne habe tarif bar ela amar Rav Ashi chazena iko balebar nekovi nakiv V'asai balegav simpona nakat v'atai. The Gemara relates that there was a certain needle that was found in the piece of liver. It's found in a piece of liver. Mar, the son of Yosef, thought to deem the animal treifa. Rav Ashi said to him, if a needle had been found in the flesh, like this case, where it was found in the liver, would the master have deemed it a treifa? A perforated liver, like perforated flesh, does not in itself render the animal treifa, as is evident from the Mishnah in 42a. Rather, Rav Ashi said that we see, if the eye of the needle faces outward toward the stomach cavity, one must presume that it perforated its way out of the gullet, rendering the animal treifa, and thereby came into the liver. If the eye of the needle faces inward, buried in the liver, the sharp end of the needle is facing outward, one may presume that it took hold of a blood vessel and came to the liver through it, rather than through the gullet, and the animal is kosher. V'hanimili be'alimta aval ketinta lo ishnako v'legav lo ishnako v'levar nako v'naki v'atai. The Gemara adds, and this statement applies only to a thick needle, the eye of which is not sharp enough to cause a perforation by itself. But if the needle is thin, it is no different if the eye faces inward, and it is no different if the eye faces outward. One must presume that it perforated its way out of the gullet and thereby came to the liver. The Gemara asks, in what way is this case different from a needle, that of a needle that is found? All right.